Organic Goth, are you doing clean as well? This is, if anyone's curious, this is Clean by Olivia Blake. This was a commission book from like December. Yes, all right, you're doing clean. Are you also doing marked? Marked is a lot more thicker than clean, so I might round that one, but I'm doing clean as a flat back, which is strange for me. I don't do flat backs that much anymore. If anyone on here hasn't read Clean or Marked yet, you should, because it is just mind-blowing. Oh my god. But so are all of Olivia Blake's works anyway. So. I usually get a lot of questions about how I case in my books from patrons, so I thought I'd show it live. Usually the questions are about how to prevent bubbling when you're gluing in the end papers to the board, but we'll get to that after I'm done doing the covers. It's going to be a lot of flipping the book around and marking stuff. It's like the most daunting process. Oh god, I'm just now seeing my chipped nail polish. Oops. Should have taken those off, but oh well. I was not expecting to go live today. I was actually in the middle of trying to case this in, and then I figured, you know what, why don't I try live just once, you know, see how this goes. There's not a lot of opportunity for me to go live because I'm always working on my actual job, or my toddler is here and it's gonna be loud and distracting. So I actually have some time today. So here I am. This is actually not as stressful as I thought it would be. I might do more lives doing more of, you know, different processes of bookbinding, not just the casing in part. Like maybe next week when I have some more books to print, I'll show you live how I sew the signatures. It's my least favorite part of the process. I absolutely hate sewing signatures, but I know a lot of other binders love it. I don't know why. They say it's therapeutic. I don't think it is. For me personally, I think it's just so mind-numbingly dull. But I think that ever since I tried, I switched from kettle stitch to French link, I've had more fun sewing. It's still not my favorite process, but it helps, you know, trying new stuff. You love my tattoos. It's a lot of Star Wars and Harry Potter stuff. I love them too. You can't not start a new hobby. I know, me too. I always start a new hobby. I got stuff for paper making, for leather binding, embroidery, knitting, crochet. I have so many things in this studio for all kinds of hobbies, but I can never actually like stick to one and finish it. So I getcha. I completely understand, yeah. Measurements for the spine. I always have trouble with the measurements for the spine for the book board. I know that one's tricky. Exact width of the text block. No. Let me explain, because God, it's so hard to explain, because usually the spine is kind of wonky. Like it could get a little thinner right here, and then it thickens up a little bit right here where the stitches are. So what I do is that I kind of get a ruler, you know, I measure it the exact measure of the widest part. This one is about an inch, so I give it about like a little notch on there. What is that? I'm very bad with math, but like, god dang it, I don't know how to explain it. Like if it was an inch right here where that thickest line is, I would give it like one more notch right here, so on both sides, so it kind of gives it like a little bit more width, a little space, so that when you do close the book, it's not wedging, you know, it's there's some space on there. So just add just a little bit more. I feel like I'm stuck wanting my end product to be perfect right out of the gate. You know what? My first book was a nightmare. It still is, but the first one is never going to come out right, because that's when you kind of have to figure out what measurements work best for you, kind of have to grapple with your materials. So don't put that pressure on yourself. Just think, you know, just get the first one right out of the gate, kind of get used to how the process is before you start aiming for perfection. And even right now, like my books are not always perfect. There are some that don't quite meet my quality, and those books that I keep for myself, I don't send those out. But you know, just try it out. Just make your first book and then keep building from there. Let's see. All right, that's the cover. Brayer helps if you're wondering, if you're starting out, to smooth out your covers. I love this thing. I kind of used this for vinyl, but now it's just for all of my crafts. I do need to clean my workspace because this is my only area that I can work in because there's so much clutter on my table. All right, that's done. We can do this now. This is the scariest part, so if you're watching, tune in. I am going to be flailing around a lot for this. Okay. I might go silent for a little bit because I really need to focus, and I can't if I'm talking, but you know. I think that looks good. So what I'm doing right now is I am just making sure that the book actually sits right in the case before I start gluing it down. Like, you know, does it have enough square right here and here? Does it sit well against the spine board? You know, before you glue anything. Measure twice, cut once, they say. Take your time with this process, because this is like, if you mess up the gluing part, your book is going to be wonky forever. So, you know, don't rush. This is the one step that you should never rush. All right, a little too far on one side. I may have cut this board a little too long because there's a lot more square on the head and the tail versus, you know, the foredge side, but that's fine. That's better than cutting it too short. All right, I think this is good. All right, now that I have that book sitting in the case the way that I want, hold on. Can't have my glue drying out on me. Get your pencil and then just mark where the edges are. You could also just make a line. Doesn't matter because it'll cover it up. Just make a line on all three sides. think I can see those lines. Can I see the lines? Just making sure. All right, I think I can see them. Okay, cool. Just gonna darken up some. Are you going to cut off the edges, or is that already done? What kind of edges? Like of the text block? I already trimmed the head and the tail before I glued the spine and added the end bands. The foredge is going to stay as is. I don't typically cut that part, even though there is enough space for me to do that on the margin side, but I just leave that edge a little bit rougher. Also because no matter what brand of guillotine you get, like the stack cutter, the paper cutter, they are all going to cut at an angle, so it's never going to be straight, and I don't want that for my foredge, especially when I'm gluing it down, that it kind of like throws off my measurements. It's better to trim the foredge by hand, but I don't have that time. So that's why I just leave the foredge as is. All right, we're good to go. Here we go. Oops. Forgot to mention that I did not do the Oxford hollow on this spine, so we will not be gluing the text block to the spine board, because there's no tube to kind of be a buffer between them. I try to brush the glue in one direction, but midway I always forget to do that. We'll see if I can remember this time. Just try to keep it in the lines. Oh, there I go. That's a lot of glue. You really want to hit those corners because you don't want your end paper flapping off from there. This thing dries really fast. I've already mentioned it a lot in my Patreon, but if you're not on there, I suggest using either, god dang it, what's it called? Wheat paste, or a mixture of PVA and wheat paste if you are scared of the glue drying way too fast on you, or if you're one of those people who like lay something down and then think, oh wait, you know, I need to reposition it. Wheat paste is going to be your friend because it dries a lot slower, which gives you some grace period to like reposition your stuff. So, and it's the kind that you can get, the one that I got anyway from Talus is it's just powder. You just add a little bit of water to it and mix it. You don't have to do any cooking like you would other wheat paste products. So that's my suggestion. Did I do this right? Oh no! It's a little crooked. Okay, we're fine. If you don't have a brayer, you can also use your bone folder and kind of just push outwards from the spine, like so. Make sure there are no air bubbles on there. That's good. Do one more check before I glue the other side. Still looks good. All right. And then remember, there's no Oxford hollow, so we're not gluing this part. Okay, we don't want that glued to the spine because then your book won't open. Won't open correctly. All right, let me darken this up some more. Okay. Love my paper. It's gorgeous. It is gorgeous. I get a lot of these paper pads from Michaels. It's like the Recollection, or there's some other Craft Smart paper pads. Usually they have sales, so that's like the best time to get multiple pads. They come in like 12 by 12 sizes, and I just cut 2 inches off and use that as a bookmark, and then the rest of it I cut in half. So I have like 6 by 6 pieces of paper to then use for the cover. So there's no wastage. Because, you know, I hate wasting paper, even though what I'm doing uses a lot of paper. Another cover option is locked up paper. It's a lot more expensive than just, you know, buying a pad of cardstock, but it's so gorgeous. And if you buy from the right supplier, you could also be supporting Nepalese women, because locked up paper comes from Nepal. So, and they're really pretty. You should look them up. It's spelled Lokta. It's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's not like cardstock, that's for sure. It's thin. It does not do well with water. It will run. So you have to be careful with the kind of glue that you're using. But it really is super pretty. I use it for a lot of handmade journals. Not necessarily for thick binding. Another glue option that you could try is methyl cellulose. I've never used it though, so I don't know what to say about it. It's just one of those things that you can use if you want, but that thing is more of like an advanced binder material. I don't really mess with that kind of stuff. I just like to keep my materials as simple and as affordable as I can. Let's see, making sure we're on the right side. Okay, should have checked that before, but all right, we're doing good. Okay, go very slowly, make sure we're on the right spot where I marked it. And the other one, I'm not done. No. See, I should have used wheat paste for this. That's okay. Oh my God. Stay there. And then you over here. Oh, all right. Scary. see what are the questions. Hold on. Where do you get the cardboard cover structure? Like the board, the binder boards, I get these from Talus. I like the 0.08 millimeter thicknesses ones, but they also come in like 0.7, and there's like a 0.09. I like that middle one because it's not too thick and it's not too thin. I answered already, but what weight of paper do you think would be best? For the text block, I use 20-pound paper. You could also get away with 24-pound, but at the time when I bought my cases of paper, it was only the 20-pound that was available. I think it's a little thin, especially if you're going to be printing inkjet with color. It's gonna go through the page. So if you can get 24-pound, go for that. Otherwise, the 20 is fine for laser printing. A bit late here. Will this entire vid be available to rewatch somewhere? You know what? I don't know. If I've never gone live before, so I don't know if it'll give me the option to like save and like put it on a playlist somewhere on TikTok or not. We'll see when I end this thing, and if not, I do have. I already planned it out on Patreon that I would film every step of the process from typesetting to bookbinding, and I'm gonna upload them on YouTube. So if you're not on YouTube, I am on there. Just search for OMG Reylo, no F, just OMG REYLO. It's all gonna be on there. It's gonna be public. It's not gonna be unlisted or exclusive to patrons only. But that's gonna be in the coming weeks, as I clear out my space and kind of, you know, have a more clean studio space to film in. But yeah, if I can't save this particular video for rewatch. How did you write the name on the cover of the book? I used vinyl. This one particularly is like, I think it was some sort of holographic HTV, and then I just ironed it on using this guy, my little, what is this thing called? Easy Press? I think this is an Easy Press. Yeah, I ironed that on just like cover for this guy and all the other books that I do. I also iron on the titles on here with HTV. Do you like Darklina? Yes! Did you know that my favorite book that I've ever bound in my life is a Darklina book, and it is actually pinned on my profile. It's like the very first one. It's called Out of Time by Destinies. I met her. She's great. I love her. But yes, I love Darklina. Ben Barnes is so hot. I don't think live lets you on. That's so sad, but it's okay. I'm gonna do more lives because I feel like I'm actually having fun doing this. I'm gonna do more lives. I'm going to film all of the processes and put them up on YouTube. Again, OMG Reylo on YouTube. I'm on there. There's already some videos there for step-by-step process, but I'm going to streamline that whole playlist so you can actually follow along more closely. Paper is so lovely. Is that a green? I think it's like a blue. I think so. It's like a dark bluish kind of with a green tinge on it. I love Destinies. Yes, we love her. We have a Darklina Discord with the Out of Time author in it. Oh, she would be on there. She's not as active on Twitter, but yeah. I also wanted to let you know you gave me the hobby of bookbinding. Aww. That's so great. Whenever someone like messages me or lets me know that they started bookbinding because of me or because they watched my videos, saw the pictures on my Instagram, that's so inspiring, because you can use this this craft, this hobby, not just to bind fan fiction, but to bind blank journals, give them to your family or friends, or you can even go to Project Gutenberg. There's a lot of public domain books right now, like Tarzan. I just recently started typesetting Tarzan. I'm gonna bookbind it and gift it to my stepdad because he really loves that book. Alice in Wonderland, wait, is it? Yes, I think Alice in Wonderland is public domain. Winnie the Pooh just recently became public domain, and I actually typeset it and put it up on Patreon for my patrons to print and bind for themselves. And I know Peter Pan might be coming up soon. I don't know, but just some ideas, you know. So let's see here. Check on this one. Looks good. Looks good. Now the last thing, I should have done this like immediately after, but after you glue your end papers and you're worried about bubbling, you should immediately squish it. This one has already been squishing for the past over 24 hours, so it's time for you to get out of there. Oops, sorry. And then you replace, this is literally just some cutting boards from IKEA. I think they were like $9 each. I can't remember. But 2 of these, they're like the perfect size for the books too. I didn't even have to cut them. They just came like this. Don't crush the spine. Make it jut out just a little bit. And just to the, where the edge of the board is. Before I do that, crisp up the hinge just a little bit more because I do like that look. Flip it over. Do the same here. And like I said in my previous video, use a Teflon folder when you are working with paper or book cloth because it won't leave streaks. Like, it won't laminate your material, whereas the regular bone folder will. I'll show you an example. I know I've already filmed that, but I can't remember if I posted it on TikTok or if it's just on Patreon. But yeah, you don't want to use bone folder for book cloth and your cover. And then these F clamps are from Home Depot, and I think they're like less than $5. But every time I go, they're always out. I think I bought all of their F clamps because I have so many in here. Let's redo that. So, you know, you don't have to make or like borrow any power tools to make your own board. You can literally just use 2 pieces of cutting boards and F clamps or C clamps if you have them. C clamps are like this. I don't like using them. I think this one's easier to use. So tight on there. Squish it to push out any air bubbles that might be on there. I have Alice in Wonderland from I think the 30s, but its binding is almost destroyed. You can restore it if you want, if you know how to bookbind. You just need to like cut off the cover if it's still hanging on and kind of like make a whole new case for it. That's one thing that I've always wanted to try, is like restore a really old book, because I think it's easy enough. It's gonna be time consuming, but you can definitely still save that book. I'm scared to touch it. I know, if I had a super old book, I would probably just leave it alone too, but like there's also a part of me that's like, I know I can save you, I can rescue you from what you look like right now. So it's up to you. Alright, so that is already squished on there, so we good. Alright, set that aside, and I'm gonna leave that alone for like 24 hours. Hold on. Just make sure I'm still, oops. Okay, alright. I think I have one more that I can do. Hold on, I just gotta make sure that that this one that was in the press is good. She good, see? No bubbles, and that's from being in the press for over 24 hours. Looks really nice. Let's let's open her. This one has the Oxford Hollow in there, so you can kind of see like that piece of paper that's glued to the spine and the text block. Just gives it a little bit more stability. There's more points of contact between the case and the text block. So we got a few more questions. When sewing the signatures, do you know what size thread you use? I only use one type of thread. Hold on. And it's like this wax thread that I got from Amazon. It's actually pretty thick. It's waxed. I'm gonna wait until I'm out of all of the, because I have like all different kinds of colors. I have an apricot, I have white, pink, blue, black, red, and once I run out of them, I'm going to switch to something thinner because I feel like this adds more bulk to the spine. You could also use just regular thread and use this. It's beeswax. It's like $2 on Amazon, 3 maybe. And you just run your thread through these little notches on here and it waxes your thread for you. So you don't have to buy like the special wax thread. You can wax your own. So that's an option. If I had more time on my hands, I would just go this route because I have so much other thread too. And I could make it to match the cover or the spine, but I don't have time. So that's an option for you, beeswax. My favorite ones are from the 1800s and their binding is almost new. Yeah, the traditional bookbinding techniques are actually archival and they use like all kinds of glues and stuff to make their stuff last forever, and as long as you take care of them and you're not like heavy-handed with your books, they will last a long time. So yeah, I wish I owned like a super old book, but I don't. Is there a specific type of printer you'd recommend or recommend avoiding? Okay, printers. Let's talk about printers. Hold on. Yeah, sewing thread and beeswax works really well for me. Good. That saves you a lot of money. As for printers, I always suggest going with a laser printer. I have an HP laser printer and I hate it because it overheats. And once it overheats, it starts to squish the text, so it looks all wonky on the page. It doesn't do that now because I try to like print one book, give it a rest, and then go print another book, but that's it messes with my flow. But laser printer, I recommend either Brother or Lexmark. They are like the best brands, and I want to upgrade to either a Brother one as soon as I can get rid of my HP. I'm still looking for a buyer on Facebook Marketplace. Printers to avoid: HP. Don't get HP. If you have an inkjet printer, that's fine, especially if you're printing just for you, but it's not, it doesn't save you money. I'm just gonna say that right now. When I started, I had an inkjet printer, a Canon inkjet printer, and I had to keep buying ink for it every week, and I only printed like 4 books, and it cost me so much money to keep buying ink. The machine itself is cheaper. That's why I get why people get an inkjet more than a laser, but it's all a scam. They recoup that money from the cost of the ink itself, which you have to keep replenishing because it runs out faster. The laser though, the machine is probably like, you can get a really good one for under $200, $150, and then you buy like a 4-pack of toner from Amazon for like $50, and that will last you like maybe half a year, maybe longer. I print a lot, so I buy toner maybe every 4 to 5 months, but that's already a lot of savings for me compared to inkjet. So that's why I always recommend getting a laser printer over inkjet. If you're gonna print a lot of color though, inkjet is always better than laser. I have both, so that's something that you kind of have to like think about, like how much do you print, how much space in your house do you have for a laser printer, because it is bigger than an inkjet. How much money do you want to spend on laser toner versus inkjet ink. So, you know, what else? I use an inkjet, but I refill my ink cartridges with a syringe and bulk bottled ink. I used to do that too, but it would always mess up, and I just hated doing it. Like, I like the ease of just popping in a new cartridge and not have to worry about messing with a syringe, especially with a toddler in my house. Like, I can't have any of those here. But if that saves you money that way, go for it. Would you be able to tell me the steps to print the metallic covers like that one? I have like multiple videos on doing foil, but like super quick, real quick. All you need is just any kind of paper. I use cardstock. You need a laminator. I have this, hold on, this guy. I think this was like $25 on Amazon. It's like an Amazon Basics brand laminator. It can do 5mm and 3mm. You will need foil. Let me show you what foil I use. This brand, it's a Heidi Swap Mink, M-I-N-C. I have all the colors, so I'm good to go. Cardstock, laminator, foil, and a laser printer. Because the foil bonds to the laser toner, it won't work with inkjet, so you need a laser printer. And then you just design your stuff on your computer, print it out on your cardstock, and then you boot up your laminator. I always use the 5mm. Cut whatever length of foil you need, lay it down, run them both through the laminator, and then that's it. That's really it. I actually learned of this through someone from Instagram, Jessica Cooper Calligraphy, I think. I think she's also on TikTok, I don't know, but she's on Instagram. Just search for Jessica Cooper something. She does a lot of foil art, and that's how I learned of how to do that from her. She also has a Patreon. So yeah, I should probably do another video of it, but it's like I have so many on my page already, but not one where I talk through the process. But it's really easy to do, and it doesn't cost a lot of money. Let's see, I think those were all the comments. Oh, let me show you the other one. I have this one. I didn't put a spine title on it because it's too thin. I thought I'd put it on the front instead. I usually do both. Sometimes I just do the one. This one is The Library of Alexandria by Senlin Yu and others, because it's actually 3 stories in one book. There's The Library of Alexandria, there's Height, and then there's A Thing Without Feathers, and there's like pages on there so I can find them. So this is also a commission, no Oxford Hollow, because it is a flat back. Although even if it's a flat back or if it's rounded, you can still put an Oxford Hollow on there. I just chose not to because I was doing all of these in batches, and I did not want to spend that extra time doing it if I didn't need to. Let's see. Let me show you how I cut the 12 by 12. So this is what it looks like from the paper pad. And I use this guy. I used to cut my 11 by 17 paper with this thing, but it never came out straight. That's why I bought a knife. But then I messed that up, and so I thought, you know, I'm just gonna get the stack cutter. So that's how I ended up with those things. Where is the top? Hold on. Wait a minute. I'm good. Okay. So this is 12 by 12. I'm gonna take out maybe 2 inches for the bookmark. That's 2 inches. And then turn it around, and we're gonna cut it in half to 6 by 6. There. These are the covers. Set that aside for a little bit. And we have these. This is going to be the bookmark. Just fold it in half. That's pretty much it. Is that equal? And then to make the bookmarks, I bought like a pack of laminating sheets from Amazon to go with the laminator. So once that's done, I laminate like a whole bunch of bookmarks on there and cut them out. So now you end up with these. They're laminated. So yeah, that laminating machine, I've used that for so many things. So, you know, the ROI is great. All right, set that aside because I'm gonna do batches of that in a little bit. Let's see. So you use this for single pages in your heavy duty guillotine for several pages at once. That cutter I just use for doing the covers. I don't use it for cutting my text block at all anymore. My guillotine, I do use that for my paper and for trimming the text block. Does your laser printer ever have trouble with images or pixelate them? No, I don't think I've had that issue, especially if the toner is fresh. It doesn't do that. However, when it starts to run out, then it has like a little banding look to them. But I always keep an eye out for my toner levels so I don't run into those issues. So that's one thing that HP does well, I guess. I've never had issues with the print quality. So, yeah. Let's see. So for this one, since there's no spine title, it doesn't matter which one's front or back, but I still kind of want to line them up. All right. And I always mark which one is front and which one is back on both sides. This one is front, this one is back. All right. Make sure we have that right. All right. And they're gonna go like that. Okay. So for the cover, I don't want it to bubble at all. That's why I just use this. It's just Elmer's Extreme. And it's the clear one. I don't like using the purple kind because it's messy. So this one actually dries flat. There's never any issues with bubbling when I use this, so it's fine. And you don't want it to like, you don't need PVA for the cover because, you know, it's not like it's gonna fly off. You're actually gonna fold it over, so it's gonna be there secure. Those edges. All right. And kind of center it. You want to overlap a little bit. Put your paper just a little bit over the book cloth. This is funny actually. I have a group chat on Twitter with fellow bookbinders, and we're all wondering like, is it paper over cloth or is it cloth over paper? And so we're all looking at our bound books, like the professionally bound ones, you know, from a factory or whatever, and we found that it is actually paper first and then the book cloth goes over the paper. So that was funny. I do the opposite. So that's just a little funny tidbit. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to overlap them. If you don't want to, you can put your paper first and then book cloth after. Doesn't matter. Do whatever you like. That's the fun of fan binding, is that there aren't really any rules except don't sell your bound books because that's illegal, which a lot of binders do, especially in the Dreamini community. I don't want to talk about that. because it makes my blood boil. But yeah, all right, that's one side done. And then, oops, see, that's why we check. Always check before you glue stuff down. All right, oop, not that one. Oh no, I'm running out of paste, glue stick. This thing runs out real quick. Okay. Yes, all the young dudes people, my god, it's like as soon as they found out that fan binding was a thing, they all went crazy. Like they lost their minds. They suddenly decided the law does not affect them, and I can't stand them. Like I'm sure there are some good people out there, but like y'all need to calm down, you know? Is there a big difference between using wheat paste and methyl cellulose for PVA mix? I've never used methyl cellulose, so I can't speak on it. I have mixed PVA and wheat paste, and I kind of liked it. It dried a lot quicker than wheat paste would by itself, but it also gave me some time to move stuff around, whereas I wouldn't have been able to do that with PVA alone. So you can try mixing. These days I only stick with PVA because I don't have the time or the space to be mixing my no, I only use PVA because I don't have the time to be mixing my wheat paste, which actually comes in this bag. This is the kind that I got. It's from Talus. It is wheat paste 301. It's a pound. You can screenshot that if you want to try it. The instructions are where are the instructions? Add 4 parts cool water to 1 part paste and mix until smooth, and then add more paste or water to achieve desired consistency. It's super quick. I have like a little mason jar that I mix it in, but you do have to refrigerate it. Once you're done using it, put it in the fridge. So that's why I haven't been using this, because I am still on crutches and I can't go upstairs, downstairs all the time to be doing that. But once I get my cast off, then I can switch back to wheat paste PVA mix. All right. No bubbles. So that's the only time I would recommend using any type of Elmer's glue. You could also use just a regular Elmer's glue for your bookbinding stuff, but it feels watered down to me. I'm not sure if there's like a huge difference between Elmer's glue and, you know, this glue, but I don't know. It feels like it. If this was whole milk, this is skimmed milk. That's what I think about. So that's why I don't really use Elmer's glue. What is the measurement guide mat on your desk called? This is a self-healing cutting mat. I got a big pack from Amazon, actually. Yeah, so just search for self-healing cutting mat. Can push on the edges, kind of like pre-score it for folding before you glue it down. Use your Teflon folder to help you along. This is like the encore performance. If you were here when I started my live, this is what I started out doing, just kind of like pre-folding the covers. Oh crap, I forgot. Supposed to cut the corners leave a little bit of space so that when you do fold them over, there's no hole. I'll show you when I'm done. Kind of like that. Just a little bit of space. Do that for all sides. Kind of just eyeball it at this point. Like, I don't have any specific how many degrees do you cut the angle. Like, just shallow enough so that when you do turn it in, it's not like poking through the other side. So like that. See, it's not too steep of an angle, like just a little bit, you know, maybe less than 45 degrees, maybe. I know, like I said, I'm bad at math. Just like that. Can paperback books have book bindings, or can you turn a paperback book into a hardcover? You sure can. The paperbacks are bound in a style that's called perfect binding, where they don't really have signatures. They're just like loose leaves of paper, kind of like if this was the spine of a paperback, they're just glued immediately. You don't have to sew them. There is a good video about that by, it's either Das Bookbinding or some other guy. God dang it, I forgot his name. Sage Reynolds. I think it's Sage Reynolds actually on YouTube. They show how to do perfect binding. I've never done it before. I should probably try it out just to see how how that works out. You do need this kind of glue for it, and just purely this, not mixed with wheat paste, because you want the flexibility of the PVA on that spine. But yeah, you can turn a paperback into a hardcover. It would just be like this. So if this wasn't sewn in, if this was just like your paperback spine just glued on, you can just make a case for it, pop it in, and then case it in. So yeah, that is possible. I want to be able to bind well enough that I can have Head Over Feet next to the Love Hypothesis. I am actually in the process of, well, I just printed it out. I have to sew it together, but I have like 3 copies of the Love Hypothesis on my shelf. So once I'm done casing in my Head Over Feet copy, I'm gonna put it next to it. So it's gonna be great. And then for this, when I'm using my bone folder, you can use your regular bone folder, not the Teflon one. It won't matter because it's like the edge, you know. It doesn't have to be not shiny. But I already have this on my table, so I'm using it. But I do recommend a Teflon folder. I use it a lot more than I do my bone folder. Like, I don't even remember when I last used my bone folder because I'm using the Teflon a lot more. It is more expensive. I think this one was like $25 compared to like, how much was my bone folder? It was like maybe less than $10. But I like it because it doesn't leave streaks on the book cover. Let me see if I can find an example. Hold on. Okay, so here was the very first book that I bound ever in my life. The first one. It is on white paper. The text is so small because it is 2 books in one. So sort of the Jedi. I was using permanent vinyl, not HTV, so the thing's already peeling. This is a test book pretty much for for stuff, but yeah, I printed this on inkjet. That's why the text is so gray and it's not as clear. That's why I don't like using inkjet. But yeah, anyway, this is my first book. But let me show you what a Teflon folder and a bone folder does. So Let's try it. This is my bone folder. I got it from Hollanders, I think. So if you run your bone folder against like paper or book cloth, it's gonna leave like a little shiny, you can see that, right? Like it leaves a shiny streak on there. This is a Teflon folder, and if I do the same thing, it doesn't really leave anything. That's why I prefer this over the bone folder. So now you know. But if those things don't matter to you, then just get the cheaper one. Okay. So fold it in. Let's do the other side. Hold on, I got a notification. I'm thinking of getting an Epson printer. Do you think that's a good brand? I haven't heard much about Epson. Nothing good, nothing bad. So you could try it out. It's not HP, so it's probably already better. There's actually a good video on YouTube from this guy who explains that printer inks are a scam. God, I wish I could remember what his name was. Hold on, let me search for it real quick because it's gonna bother me that I don't know. Hold on. Oh, it's called Ink Cartridges Are a Scam. Just search for that on YouTube. And the guy's name is Austin McConnell. He explains it so well and kind of is also infuriating. But yeah. Alright, I think these are folded well enough. Flatten sides. When it comes to folding in the covers, you can do it whatever order you want. I personally do the head and tail first and then the foredge, but you could also do foredge first and then head and tail. Doesn't matter, it all gets covered by the end paper anyway. So, you can use either Elmer's glue or PVA for the inside parts because again, it gets covered by the end paper, like it holds it down for you. And oh, by the way, I almost forgot, when you're working on any surface, whether it's a cutting mat or just your table, use like a scratch sheet of paper on it. These are leftovers from shipping labels, like the 2-part kind. I saved up all the ones when I ship out a book, and I'm left with this thing. It has a shiny side and it has like that side. I use it to lay down on my surface, especially when I'm like gluing stuff down and the glue gets on it, so that when I'm done with it, I can just discard this, get a new one. Like I have so much, so you're not putting glue on your surface, especially your cutting mat, because that's what happened with my old cutting mat. I didn't think about it, and then after I had bound so many books, I was starting to peel off like bits of glue from it and kind of ruined my mat. So always have an extra sheet down. It can be anything, like newspaper, maybe not a newspaper, because then the ink will, like, you know how it kind of bleeds. Maybe not that, maybe like a magazine. Das Bookbinding uses sheets of, like, I think he's a magazine. So yeah, don't forget about your waste sheet. And then when you do use it, make sure that you're not laying your book down on where there's already glue marks, because I've done that too. There's no glue marks on this yet. I'm good. We're safe. Okay, where's the sprayer? Stay put, man. Where'd it go? Okay. So weird working without like music or a podcast going on, but I don't want any copyright strikes, so I'm just working in silence. I see people on here streaming like whole ass TV shows, and I am worried about that. Oh, my stomach is growling. There. Cover is done. Maybe I should put a title on here, but Love and Other Misfortunes is so long. The thing with flatbacks is that I can always decide to put the title on after I've already bound the book, whereas with rounded covers, you can't really do that because the spine is rounded and it's hard to like iron it on that way, whereas this as a flat back, I can just put it on a squisher and then iron it on after that way. So I mean, I'll think about it more. Maybe I will. I don't know. For those spine, I use HTV. Like I said, my Easy Press. And then I have a Cameo 4. I no longer use a Cricut after that brouhaha about them trying to charge for like user uploads. As soon as they announced that, I was out. I sold my Cricut that same day and I got my Cameo 4. And you know what? So far, it's louder. It's super loud. But the interface is just better, especially compared to the Cricut Design Space versus the Cameo, the Silhouette Studio. Silhouette Studio blows the Cricut Design Space out of the water. So if you're thinking about getting yourself a cutting machine, go with the Silhouette, the Cameo 4. It's so much better than the Cricut. And you can get like a good bundle from Amazon. I think I got mine for like $250 and it came with a whole bunch of vinyl. It came with some pens, extra blades. So I really got a good deal on mine from Amazon. There. Making sure the hinge is, you know, crisp. Just push it in like that. And that gives it that nice definition for when you do put your book in, like so. You know, might have to squish it more, but yeah, that'll look good once it's all cased in. How long fix? For long fix, how do you decide where to separate them into volumes? I think, let's see, for manacled, I haven't split that many fix. For manacled, it was easy because Sen had already split them up according to Hermione's memories, you know, like the current one, and then it before, and then switched back to her and her current. So I split it up that way. That was easy. For the auction, I think I just split it down the middle. Well, I typeset it first, the whole fic in one. Then I've kind of gauged like what is the midpoint, what is the middle page of this whole document, and I'll just split it from there. So I think I split it down. Hold on. Let's see. The auction volume 2 starts at chapter 25, but that's how I typeset it. If you typeset it with like either smaller font, bigger font, all kinds of filigree and art on there, you might end up with a different chapter, but I just split it down the middle. Let's see, and I think I did the same thing for Landscape of the Blur of Conquerors. I split it into 3 volumes because it's such a huge work. But yeah, so either if it's already pre-split for you like Manacled, or you just do it right down the middle. That's how I would do it. A bit more. I really want to hit those edges and corners more than the middle part, because if the edges and the corners aren't glued down, they're gonna pry off, and you know, you don't want that to happen. Cool. And then that's the front, because I already marked it, and this is also the front. Make sure, yep, all right, front. We're good. See, I have 3 journals that have no covers because I haven't figured out how to do them yet. I know, usually I have like piles of text blocks just sitting in my studio with no cases because I haven't figured out what cover to do with them, or if I want to try something new with the cover, like that one journal I made that kind of like opened like this in the cover. I don't know if you've seen that. It is on my website. It was a journal. It was like a witchy journal, and it opened like a closet to Narnia, like that. I bought a guillotine, but it has a hard time trimming the bigger books. Might need a newer one. There is a limit to how much a guillotine can trim. Like, I think the thickest one that I ever did was, hold on, let me get it. Oh my god. Ooh, this guy. That is a thick one. That is about, hold on, when I trimmed it by itself, it was about 1.5 inches. And my guillotine really struggled with this one, so you might have, for thicker ones, you might have to split your text block before you trim them. So yeah, there are limitations to these machines. Put that back. Do you add all mole to your works or just a bigger fix? I add mole to each and every one of them. It just it keeps them together. Yeah, mole for all of the books. I never skip on it. The only thing that I might skip are the linen tapes. But I used French link stitch for this, so I just skipped the tapes. I could add tape to it. I could, but I didn't. So yeah, the mold though, I never skip it. There's already a little bit of bubbling on this side, so we need to squish this fast. Do this side. I have maybe like 3 or let's see, 3 more books to finish, and then I can reopen my commissions again. As usual, I will announce it first on Patreon, and if there are any leftovers, they will be open to the general public. The only reason that I tell my patrons first, because that is their perk, and also because it's just a way of, you know, thanking them for supporting my craft. They get to have dibs on any commission slots that I do have, but I am always open for to take commissions from anyone, patron or not. And there are times when after 6 hours, there are some slots that are left open, so I always offer them outside of Patreon. Like, I will announce it on Twitter mostly, and then it gets sold out almost immediately, so I never have a chance to like share it on TikTok or Instagram or anywhere else. So yeah. All right, it's just the one. This is like the scariest part ever. This right here, gluing the end paper to the text block to the case. That's the one step you should fear. Because like if you mess that up, you have to cut your whole text block out and then redo it. I've only had to do that once, because I glued the text block upside down. There. Good. Looks good. Make sure it opens. Yep. Nice. I wonder if I can show you another example. Hold on. If I have one. Let me see. Do I have one? I don't think I do. Never mind. Never mind. I was going to show you an example of how paper behaves when it is short grain versus long grain. And grain direction is another thing that you have to consider when you're bookbinding, because this is short grain. This is actually cut correctly. The paper just kind of like, it just lays there, you know. It's not like super stiff where it's like that, which is long grain. Anyway, I have a whole post on that on my Patreon, but see how that is? It just lays there. Long grain paper would just stick right up, like very stiff. So yeah, grain direction. There are other videos on YouTube discussing grain direction. I think Das Bookbinding, DAS Bookbinding, search him, he's OG bookbinder. He discusses that. I don't know if Sage Reynolds does, but Das definitely does. Just crisp up the hinges a little bit before I put this on in a press. Cool. And then let me look for, I think all my presses are in use. I might have to buy more cutting boards. Oh my god. Go. Found one. This was the very first press that I ever made. I had to go over to my stepdad's and had him help me with drilling the holes in, because I have no power tools in my home. But he has a whole ass workshop. So I think this was from like a sea lemon tutorial. But yeah, I barely use this anymore because it's so big, and I prefer using just my DIY one with a you know, this guy. So much easier, and easier to it's so small, it's easier to store. This one is so big, and these things always scare me because they're always jutting out, and my studio is a mess, and I'm afraid of like stepping on them. But here's the book. I'm just gonna put it in the press. And also because this is so big, like it's hard to put equal pressure on the book because the screws are spread farther out. Alright. And it doesn't fit in the frame. Do you have any printer recommendations, mind you? Hold on. Do you have any printer recommendations? Mine just died on me, so I'm in the market for a new one. Yeah, we just discussed that earlier. I don't recommend HP. Get a laser printer, either Lexmark or Brother. Those are my recommendations. I have an HP and I don't like it. I am looking to switch to a Brother printer as soon as I can get rid of my HP. Let's see, Cat Morgan. It's so hard to come by short grain paper in the UK. I've been looking for so long. yeah, you can't really find short grain paper anywhere because majority of the papers sold are long grain, which means, if anyone's not familiar with the terms, if this was your sheet of paper, the ones that you buy in stores and anywhere really, they're always going to be long grain, which means the grain runs this way. So my solution for that is I bought 11 by 17 paper because it's long grain, and then I cut it in half to get 8.5 by 11, which is letter size paper. So once I cut it in half, it becomes this size. This is the 8.5 by 11, and the grain runs this way now, remember, because I cut it in half. So now it's short grain, so that when I fold it over, the grain runs parallel to the spine. It is short grain. I know it's so confusing. Sometimes I have to visualize it in my head too, but yeah, you might just have to get larger paper and then cut it in half to get your short grain, which is what I've been doing for the past 2 years now. Unfortunately, it's just really hard to find short grain paper anywhere, even in the US. So yeah, I hope that helps. Beaded beauties. I'm making my husband make me one like that. LOL, just need washers and nuts. Yeah. The good thing about this kind of press is that, well, this size press anyway, is that I probably have space for another book right there. But again, Beaded Beauties by Meko. If you don't want to bother with this setup, you can just do this one. It's just 2 pieces of small cutting boards from IKEA and F-clamps. And there's no drilling necessary. It just comes apart and then you stow it away. But I greatly prefer this. It's also the size of my books. So, you know, if your husband can't get around to doing all of the drilling, but that's just my suggestion. Okay, so this guy will have to sit in the press for about 24 hours, enough to like push out any air bubbles and keep it like really intact. So I'm gonna set it aside for now so I don't trip on it. Cool. What else have we got here? This one was I did last week. It should be ready to pack up and ship out. I could probably do that, but since I am on a cast still, and I want to drop this off myself, I'm gonna do them all in batches. I'm gonna wait until I'm done binding the rest of the batch from that commission season in December and mail them out all together. But this is ready to go. That's what it looks like. It's Looking Glass by Kyonomiko. This is a Dremini thick. It's actually really good. Yeah. And then, yeah. So that's pretty much it for today. I hope y'all learned something. I am planning on doing more lives when I have a new process that I have to do, because right now I'm doing them all in batches, and today's batch is just casing in the books. I do have 3 more books to print, so when I do those, I am going to go live with how I fold and sew the signatures together. No schedule on when that is, maybe next week. I'll just go live then. You can follow me if you want, so you get notifications when I do go live. But yeah, for now, thank you so much for watching. This was really fun. I'll try to do more. I'll try to announce when. I'll try to get a schedule down for lives, but right now it's just really contingent upon my 9 to 5, and if my toddler is around to like mess with my stuff. But again, thank you so much for being here, and I hope to see you again. How do you end a live? That That is the question. Let me mess around. I don't know how. Do I just like exit out? Oh, I got messages. Hold up. I lucked out and found a good sized flower press at the thrift shop. That's good. Man, if I found like bookbinding tools and materials at a thrift store, I would just freak out. Oh, wait, I think I found it. Alright, see you guys soon.